CJ, feels like we've done this a few times this season, but, to have a season like this team-wise and, this stage in your career and to still be putting up games like this, what is it? What kind of mental focus, physical strain has it required to still be able to have these type of games at this point in the season?
Yeah, we're still very blessed and fortunate to be able to play this sport. Obviously, we're not winning games, and we've dug ourselves in quite the hole. And excuse me, from an expectation standpoint, obviously we haven't lived up to our personal expectations or outside expectations, but the season isn't lost. There's still stuff we can take away from this season. There's still some character building that can occur, obviously player development. And for me personally, it's just being thankful of the fact that I get to play this game. You know what I mean? Like, there's guys that have gone through injuries this year. Dejounte's out, Herb's out. There's guys that wish they could, even have the opportunity to play this game. And we can't take our health for granted. We can't take the game for granted. We can't take, where we're at for granted. I think perception and perspective is really important at this stage for all of us, and especially for me. I haven't been in the league a long time, having goals and aspirations and things I want to accomplish from a team standpoint, and not being able to do it this year doesn't mean that I should just punt the season. There's still stuff I can get better at. There's still stuff that I need to work on, and there's things that I worked on this summer that I want to make sure I get to display and get to work on in games. And nights like this, where you get off the slow starts, mentally you might be. And I was in Florida. I think in the first half, mentally I was in Florida, walking on the beach and enjoying mentally. You try to stay as present as possible, and sometimes you float. And I think we all do that. It's normal. It's a part of our human flaw is to try to be present and mentally try to lock in. And second half I try to be more present, try to just take advantage of the fact that I'm playing the game and be more aggressive and savor my Florida vacation for later.
I guess, how do you kind of mentally process it where, obviously you've been on teams that have won big, made deep playoff runs, but also, individually this feels like, one of your better seasons just because of some of these games. I guess, how do you kind of process the back and forth of that?
Yeah, I judge my individual success based on our team success. So I always say, I've played well this season, and, when the season's over, I'll average a good amount of points. I'll shoot good percentages and, be around 4 or 5 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists, pretty much what I've done my whole career. But it's more about the approach, the consistency, and the work ethic, stacking my days. What type of leader am I being in the locker room? What type of example am I setting? In spite of the type of season that we're having, how do I approach these games that, to some may be meaningless, right? And these aren't really games of consequence, if that makes sense. It's always meaningful because, right, we're blessed and fortunate to play the game. There's fans that are coming. There's people that are spending their money. But in terms of having a shot at, playing past April 12th, it's slim. So it's about the approach. It's about the day-to-day habits and what are we building and establishing for next season. How do I want, my legacy to be remembered, in a year like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to just punt the year away. I want to display my talents. I want to take advantage of what the good Lord has given me. And, my sons still come to the game. My wife's still coming to the game. They still support me. And I don't want to let them down, So I think it's about finding, before games, what is your why? Figure out what your why is. And remember that, when you were younger, you wish you had this opportunity to play this game on this stage. And life is not as hard as we're making it.
I hear everything you're saying. But tonight it seemed like there was also something else that was motivating you at times. Like, there was a lot of physicality on your end, defensively, and then offensively. It seemed like you were getting.
You got a flight to catch.
There was some verbal, back and forth between you and the Kings bench at times. What was going on there to motivate you as well? Because it seemed like there was a little edge to your game in the second half of the season.
I thought the refs were great. I thought the Kings were great. I thought that, there's some great young players over there. There's some great older players over there. I think they got a great coaching staff. I love Jay Crowder. Big fan of Jay Crowder. Love DeMar. Zach LaVine, great guy. Malik Monk, fantastic human being. Keion Ellis, great shooter, great defender. Keegan Murray, outstanding defender, great shooter. And I thought that, it was just a well-officiated game, a well-played game. And I should have finished it in regulation. And since I didn't, I figured I would finish it in overtime.
you certainly did finish it. Tonight also, just to have the milestone, you moved into third place all-time in the franchise's history with 40-point games, with your 5th one with this team. As you asked a little bit earlier about the kind of personal success that you had in a season that's been so difficult, what do you think that example sets for the younger players on this team who are at the starts of their careers about what it means to those days that you cannot take off, that these games are of consequence, whether or not they bring you higher in the standings or not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't play the game for that type of stuff. It's nice to hear it, and it's great, but I play the game because I love it. Like, I don't need basketball. I choose to play basketball every day, and I choose to be away from my family. I choose to spend my time, you know, working on my game at night, lifting and all that stuff. So I think it's more about the daily habits. If you do what you're supposed to do consistently, if you take the game seriously, if you maximize your talents, and you play long enough, you'll be able to accomplish those types of things. You'll score 40. In some games, you'll hit 10 threes. You'll average 20. Some guys could average 25. If you do what you're supposed to do and really take advantage of the game, it's more in the work. So I just try to fall in love with the work and the process of the work. And that's what I've done, and that's why I'm in year 12. And that's why, you know, if the good Lord allows, I'll be able to play until I don't want to play anymore. And I think that's the goal. I hope they're learning that. You know, work hard, take the game seriously, enjoy your life, have a personal life outside of basketball, and devote your time to it while you have it. And when it's over, have something else that you can fall back on and do that brings you joy and happiness, because it's a revolving door. It's here today, it's gone tomorrow. No one really remembers, you know, 20 years from now. Great job, Trey.
CJ,
That's it. That's it. He told me to go. It's franchise.
real quick, CJ. Willie said in the post-game that you're really the guy that's responsible for keeping this locker room together despite all these losing streaks. Can you clue us in on what you're exactly doing for the guys?
You'll have to ask Trey about that. Thank you, guys. Have a great break.
Thanks, CJ.